Rink Wide Vancouver. Pre-game, post-game, every game presented by Bodog. From sports odds to free casino games, make a play at bodog.net. Wadden and JPat back once again with the pre-game show as the Canucks finish off the homestand with the Philadelphia Flyers in town, but looking for a W because the first two didn't go so well.
Yeah, lost to Detroit, lost to the Rangers. Now, the Red Wings are playing well, and we know that the Rangers have eyes on a deep playoff run, so they're at a different level than the Philadelphia Flyers. Flyers come limping in here after getting spanked in Seattle the other night, so maybe the Canucks have found a team a little closer to their level. The Flyers are ahead of them, but most teams around the NHL are. Still, this could be a competitive game just because both of these teams have struggled for much of this season.
Let's get to the lineup change, which is presented by Delaney's OK Tire out there on Fraser Highway in Langley. Looks like the youngster going to get another starting goal, JPat, and some injury news on the blue line.
Yeah, lots of moving parts when it comes to the lineup change here. But yeah, Artur Silovs looks like he's going to go right back in for his second NHL appearance. And again, the Flyers don't score an awful lot. So this was a game that I kind of thought felt like a better fit for him to begin with. But they went with him, threw him to the Rangers the other night, and he survived. And so, again, we learned today that Thatcher Demko hasn't apparently suffered a setback, but they have worked him hard in practice, and this was just a maintenance day, so it doesn't explain why he left on his own at practice on Thursday, but according to head coach Rick Tocchet, not a setback for Thatcher Demko, but there is injury news for the Vancouver Canucks. Oliver Ekman-Larsson, a sprained ankle. He's going to miss a couple of weeks of action here. The Canucks placed Travis Dermott on the IR, and that allowed them to recall Christian Wolanin from Abbotsford, where he's been an all-star this year, has had a terrific season, leads the Abbotsford Canucks in scoring, in fact, and he's going to make his Canucks debut, his first NHL game in nearly a year. They're going to plug him right in on defense with Luke Shen, and Curtis Lazar won't play tonight. Left that game against the Rangers the other night. He is day-to-day, but he will not play, and that allows Jack Studnicka to return to the lineup for the first time since the All-Star break. And Studnicka looks like he's going to center a line with Vasily Podkolzin on one side, Connor Garland on the other, and that's interesting too because at practice on Thursday, Studnicka had Brock Besser on his right wing, but it looks like Besser's going to skate with JT Miller and Phil DiGiuseppe, and that leaves Andrei Kuzmenko back with Elias Pettersson and Anthony Beauvillier. So yeah, lots going on when it comes to the Vancouver Canucks ahead of this one against the Philadelphia Flyers tonight.
They may not win like the original Broad Street Bullies, but they are essentially the Broad Street Bullies still, leading the league in fights, hits, and block shots are John Tortorella's Flyers.
Rick Tocchet wants his team to play harder, and he wants them to play through opponents. It sounds like he's taking a page right out of Torts' playbook. Now, people in Philadelphia are suggesting that this game tonight against the Vancouver Canucks, far from home are the Philadelphia Flyers, but they're suggesting that this is a referendum on whether John Tortorella is making progress with his hockey club because they got outshot 12-1 in the first period, outscored 2-0 down in Seattle. We're never in that hockey game. Got a couple of third period goals from Travis Konechny, but the Flyers do play hard generally. As you said, they lead the league in fighting majors. Nick Delorier leads the league in fighting majors on his own. And then block shots and hits as well. So that sounds like a John Tortorella team. Rick Tocchet wants his group to do a little bit more of that. So stylistically, I'm kind of interested to see what this game looks like. There aren't huge stakes involved for either of these teams, but both of these coaches expecting their teams to dig in a little bit more. So we'll see if they do that tonight.
Let's see if he can go from the doghouse to the penthouse. Andrei Kuzmenko is who I'm talking about. He was dancing in his last game.
Yeah, and we are all raving about the highlight reel assist on the Connor Garland goal, and then he went and scored to make it a one-goal game in the third period. So it does feel like he's sort of back in the good books, if you will, although we know that can change in a hurry. But Kuzmenko and Elias Pettersson have had chemistry all season long. That's where Kuzmenko, I'm sure, wants to be. He's going to get that opportunity again tonight, and you would expect that line would be the leaders for the Vancouver Canucks offensively.
So Kuzmenko is starting to turn the corner, at least in Rick Tocchet's eyes, but Vasily Podkolzin starting to dip a little bit.
Yeah, one rushing up, the other... Again, I don't want to be too hard on the youngster here. 6 games since the recall. Scored at Madison Square, but that's his only point in those 6 games. So you'd like to see him a little bit more involved offensively. We talked about the line that he's going to play on with Jack Studnicka tonight. A couple of young guys that have plenty to play for, and we'll see if they can find a little bit of chemistry themselves there. Podkolzin's first NHL goal came in Philadelphia last year against the Flyers, so I'm sure when he looks over on the other side and sees black and orange, maybe that'll bring back and evoke some good memories for him. Whatever the case, you just want to see him be a little bit more prominent. They continue to give him opportunities here, but he's got to make the most of them. Will Lockwood is getting closer to returning. If Lockwood gets a chance, somebody's going to have to come out of the lineup. I'm not saying that it's going to be Podkolzin, but if there's too many more zeros across his stat lines, that's not going to ensure that he's going to be an every night player for the Vancouver Canucks. So I'd like to see Pods. We talk about the Flyers and stiffness and digging in. He can be a physical forward. He's got the big body. He can play that style. So I hope that he does in this one tonight.
We've been seeing a lot of Riley Stillman recently, but how much is too much Stillman?
Well, I think that's a fair question to ask, certainly. He has set season highs for ice time in 2 of the last 3 games, was up over 20 minutes in Detroit a week ago. And then the other night when OEL went down, you knew that everybody was going to see a little bit of a spike in their ice time. But Riley Stillman played 22 minutes and 32 seconds. That is too much, Riley Stillman. But now if you look at the left side, it's Quinn Hughes. Stillman is your number 2 guy on the left side, and Christian Wolanin is going to slide in and play, as we said, with Luke Schenn. Now, at morning skate this morning, and yeah, the Canucks did have a morning skate, which is a rarity under Rick Tocchet. Christian Wolanin not just getting plugged in the lineup, he was getting second power play unit rep. So that'll allow him, if this game does have penalties, that would be a way for Christian Wolanin to see his ice time bumped up a little bit. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see and to monitor Riley Stillman. It does feel like this coaching staff sees something in this player, or at least they're giving him every opportunity to prove himself. Again, in a perfect world, 22 and a half minutes of Riley Stillman is probably a few too many, but in the absence of OEL, wouldn't surprise me if he's up over 20 minutes again tonight.
Let's take a look at the Flyers now. You mentioned that game in Seattle. They have been really struggling as of late.
Yeah, just 2 wins in their last 9 hockey games, back-to-back losses to Seattle in Philly, and then they started the road trip there the other night. We said outshot 12-1 in the first period. Not what John Tortorella was looking for from his team to start the road trip, to sort of establish some sort of tone and tempo for the road trip. They tried to claw back, but they were too far down, and just 2 third-period goals, both of them from Travis Konechny. And if Konechny's not going these days, then really nobody is going on this hockey team. Kevin Hayes was their representative at the All-Star game. He's having a decent season, but Konechny leads this team, 26 goals, 51 points. So he is their go-to guy. And it used to be when the Flyers and the Canucks got together, it was a battle of the, I think, second cousins, Bo Horvat and Travis Konechny, related somewhere on the family tree. Of course, Horvat's not here, so maybe the game won't hold as much significance or importance to Travis Konechny, but he is their offensive leader. There's no question about that. Certainly a guy that the Canucks have to keep an eye on after that. Really a struggle for this Philadelphia team. 26th in the National Hockey League by raw goals scored, 27th in the NHL in goals per game, and a huge part of that, a power play that is dead last. So the Canucks penalty kill has met its match here tonight. Now, we've said that on other pregame shows with other struggling power plays, and they usually come out on top in that battle. But this is a power play that's running at 15.9% on the season. We know Canucks penalty kill is dead last, although it was perfect 1-for-1 the other night against the New York Rangers. But maybe that's the game within the game, the special teams battle, Flyers power play against the Canucks penalty kill.
It's been a struggle for the Flyers this year, but it would be a struggle for any team, especially if you're missing 3 of your top players.
Yeah, and we always say injuries aren't an excuse, but I do think they're an explanation when Cam Atkinson, Sean Couturier, and Ryan Ellis, 3 veterans, 3 leaders, 3 guys that the Flyers were counting on, they haven't played a single game. All 3 of those guys have missed the entire season. So every team battles through injuries to some degree, but that's a real blow right from the outset for this team. And if you're wondering about Zach McEwen, the former Canuck that was claimed by the Flyers off waivers early last year, he's out with a jaw injury, so he will not play here against the Vancouver Canucks tonight.
Let's get to the stat that stands out. It's presented by Jason Hominick at jason.mortgage.
Yeah, this is wild. I mean, you look at the Philadelphia Flyers, where they are 22 victories on the season. They probably, just by the law of average, should have a few more. How about this one? In overtime, in games settled, in 3-on-3 overtime, the Philadelphia Flyers have won 1 of 10. They are 1-9 in 3-on-3 overtime. So if the Canucks can get this game, or if this game goes beyond regulation time, certainly like the Canucks' chances. And I think that speaks to the fact that the Flyers just don't have a ton of game breakers, where the Vancouver Canucks do have guys, and they've had guys that have won games for them in overtime, different players throughout the season. The Flyers just don't have those game breakers. Now, some of those guys were guys that we mentioned that haven't played a game for them all season long, but that is definitely a stat that stands out for me. 1 win in 10 games decided by sudden death overtime. The stat that stands out, presentation of our mortgage broker friend, Jason Hominick at jason.mortgage.
Let's get to my Bodog Best Bet. I'm kind of feeling good about this one, JPat. I'm sort of on the fence on it, but I like the value here. I feel like the Canucks are going to get a W tonight, and I think they can do it into 1.5 goals or more. Look at that value right there. I need it right now. I'm trying to get those W's up, but I'm also trying to get my winnings up as well. I'm sort of a little hesitant on this one, JPat, but listen, they need a W. I think they can do it by 2 goals or more.
Yeah, well, they got the lead. They got the start they were looking for against the Rangers. Unfortunately, they gave that one right back less than a minute later and weren't able to build on it. If you can get the jump on this Philadelphia team like Seattle did, again, right now, I think Philly's questioning itself a little bit, not playing particularly well. So, yeah, I think it's there for the Vancouver Canucks. And we've said this, they're going to lose more than they win down the stretch, but they're not going to lose every game.
Yeah.
This one just, again, if Artur Silovs can hold up his end of the bargain and the players are a little tighter in front of him than they have been in other games, then this one does have the earmarks of a Vancouver Canuck victory to wrap up the homestand. So I like this call for you, and we'll see if you can hit on your best bet tonight.
The C-loss factor there. There's always that C-loss factor. We got some Bodog bucks to give away as well tonight. 50 of them. Here's what you got to do. You can post the game-winning goal, time, and period below here on YouTube, or head over to Twitter at RinkWideVan. Give us a follow if you're not following us already, and post your time and your period there. The winner that's closest to is going to take home 50 sweet Bodog bucks. And boy, you could grow that on Bodog. But listen, this is the best part of the pregame show. This is what everybody waits and wants to hear. Who tonight is going to do something, JPat, in this game?
Yeah, this isn't a guy that has a high profile, but he's getting a real opportunity, and that is Jack Studnicka on his 24th birthday. We'll see if he celebrates. This is a guy that wants to be a center in the National Hockey League and was struck by an illness that forced him out of the lineup. He dropped 12 pounds here over the last week to 10 days, but he's been back at practice. He's been battling hard. He's caught Rick Tocchet's eye with the way that he has learned some of the things that Rick Tocchet has been teaching in these practices. And I know Tocchet's intrigued to see what Studnicka can do. Do I think he's a game breaker or a difference maker? Probably not. Although the last time we saw him in a Canuck uniform was the home game against Columbus before the All-Star break. He had a couple of breakaways. Now, he didn't finish, so you'd like to see him make the most of those opportunities. But the fact that he's creating some things with his speed, that's something to watch. He's playing in the position that he wants to play in the National Hockey League. So it's a great opportunity for him. And he acknowledged it the other day after practice. With Bo Horvat traded away here, all these guys recognize that the Canucks are a little thinner now up the middle. So those guys that see themselves as natural centermen, whether it's a Sheldon Dries, whether it's Nils Amon, or whether it's Jack Studnicka getting a chance tonight. Looks like he's going to start. I think we talked about this a little earlier. Podkolzin on one side, Connor Garland on the other, and Garland's been playing well of late. So maybe he gets the Connor Garland bump. Who knows? But Jack Studnicka is the guy that I'm looking for. He's the birthday boy, and we'll see if he has a couple of reasons to celebrate if he can help the Vancouver Canucks to a victory over the Philadelphia Flyers.
And a great opportunity for the Canucks to get that victory against a struggling Flyers team that want to do it for their head coach, who, of course, is a former Flyer. This has been another edition of the Rink Wide Vancouver podcast presented by Bodog. For Jeff Patterson, I'm Andrew Wadden. Remember, Rink Wide is the show that always scores.